Good evening, everyone. It's me again. I'm going to lose my voice. So this is really the kickoff for our budget season, and I'm really going to do a quick introduction, and I'm really going to turn this over to Dr. Grace Chan, our new Assistant Superintendent for Business Administration, and she's really going to lead this show throughout the budget development process. So I'm just going to start with a quick reminder of, as always, our budget is built around our district vision and core values. So child first and foremost, building a foundation for the future, and our core values, community, opportunity, resiliency, and empowerment. Those are the conversations we have throughout the budgeting process to ensure that we're putting our money where our priorities are. And these are really what we use to guide those decisions. A very not inclusive list of some of our priorities. We wanted just to sort of touch some of the big ticket items that we anticipate on supporting during the, get ready for this, 25-26 school year. The number's getting too high to comprehend. So as always, we're looking for ways to find new teacher leadership opportunities. We're continuing our investment in the science of reading. So we've done a tremendous amount of work over the past several years, investing in our Scholastic Reading Program, as well as Foundations and the Haggerty Program. We continue our expansions of the middle years, the IB Middle Years Program. Our middle school is scheduled for authorization this spring, likely end of March, beginning of April. And our high school just received their confirmation that they are now a candidacy school for the Middle Years Program. So as was our plan all along, as the middle school comes online, the high school begins their work. Likely in 2 or 3 years, the high school will then be looking to come online, and that'll offer our students technically 612 in Putnam Valley. Realistically, it's a 512 IB continuum for students beginning in 5th grade in the middle school straight through their high school experience. And really, it's our belief that the middle years program will better prepare our students for whatever depth they go into the diploma program here at the high school. We're continuing our work on alignment of math instruction, utilizing programs that are transition seamlessly from grade to grade. DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, is something that we began this year that will continue next year, again, trying to get to the root cause of issues, specifically student behavior issues, and really making connections with students. Work on writing continuum from grades K through 12. That's work that Jackie's leading with teacher leaders throughout the buildings, that making sure that we're providing students with prerequisite skills for the grade before to be successful in what is ultimately a very writing intensive program once you get into the high school. Focusing on culture, we have Dr. Holly will be coming in to speak at upcoming superintendent's meeting. We continue our future of education work around generative AI, artificial intelligence, and advanced learning technologies. I know we've provided several updates on that. That work will continue. Continuing our focus on executive functioning. This is something that we don't take this personally, not you two, but some students, not board reps, are lacking. Executive functioning skills. It's feedback we get from parents, it's feedback we get from teachers, it's feedback we get from students themselves. It was actually a focal point of the alumni when they came back. There was a lot of conversation about time management, not procrastinating. They're going to give you a month to do it. Don't wait till, I won't name names, but I can picture who was saying it, right? Don't wait till the last minute to do the project you had a month to do. So again, executive function is extremely important, starting at early grade levels, but certainly more so as you approach adulthood. Restorative practices and behavioral monitoring. This is something that we continue to see, not in Putnam Valley, but across the region. Students and schools, there is a mental health crisis. A lot of it focused on social media, cell phones. As much as I appreciate the governor's efforts, I don't think banning cell phones in schools is going to fix the problem, because students use those cell phones way more at home than they ever do in school. And that's where most of the behaviors, most of the issues we're aware of start outside of school and then make their way in afterwards. Rarely does it ever start in school. And then some of the facilities work, as we've shared at previous board meetings. By next year, we hope to be completing the scheduled field, track, and fencing replacement here at the high school. So putting down new turf, resurfacing the track, and replacing the fencing that's essentially falling down. And hopefully next year, we'll also be talking about the designing, planning, and awarding of the upcoming infrastructure project that will be up for public vote on January 28th. So that's a quick look at our district priorities. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Grace Chen to talk a little bit about what our budget's going to look like. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone. I just want to give a shout out to my team, Maureen, Karen, Debbie, and Matthew, because everything I do is a representation of my whole team, okay? So I'm going to start off with a little bit about the historical data of the district. Basically, I'm only going back 5 years. You'll see on the screen, the bottom line is the tax cap in red, and the percentages each year are aligned there. And the budget change from year to year is the blue line on top. And you'll notice that when the blue line is up there, like for instance, in the 4.94% year, the tax cap was only 1.49. So those years, the district had to make up the difference in revenue in other sources, which we will get into. But I just wanted to show you what happened in the last 5 years. And this you might be very familiar with. It's how do we calculate our tax cap. But I tried to summarize this because the formula is actually very long and I don't want to bore you with it. Maybe there are some items that you wouldn't understand what's going on there. However, anyone who wants to know more about it, that is free to come and call me at the business office. I will be happy to show off everything that we know. To start with, we always use the last year's approved actual tax levy, which in this case was $41,330,000. And then we have to times it by the tax base growth factor, which is specific to Putnam Valley. Every single district gets their own number, which is this 1.002. The reason that's specific to your district is because it's actually a factor based on the physical changes in the taxable property, such as new construction, homes, stores, and offices. It's not just the mere change of the assessed value of the property existing. Then after we multiply that, we come up with a subtotal, which is $41,413,000. To that, we would be subtracting is what they call the net prior year tax capital exclusion, this $1,204,000. There's actually a few lines that go into this number. This is a number that was produced from last year. Then up to this point, we have the prior year's tax levy limit. Then the next thing that we multiply it by is what you call the allowable levy growth factor, the lesser of 2% or CPI. And this is what you read in the newspaper when people come and ask, why does the newspaper say it's 2% and our percentage is not 2%? It's because the 2% the newspaper is talking about is this number right over here. And I'm just going to make an assumption.
Oh, sound.
Hey, Dan, I didn't give you the sign.
That's what I was thinking.
This is the first time it's ever happened. I'll write this down, Marissa.
Hi again, it's me again. So after we multiply by the 2%, and I'm just putting this in here now as an assumption based on what I'm reading in the newspaper about the economy, then we come up to this number of $41,012,000. To that, we have to add the current year capital exclusions. Again, this is several lines that go in here. This is part of where the debt service comes into place when Dr. Luft talks about this in the capital improvements. We also subtract any building aid from here, and then we add back any capital exclusions, some BOCES aids. There's a few lines that go into here. We don't have that number yet right now, which is why I put it as to be determined. That will help me decide what the 25-26 allowable tax levy is. If you notice, I have a little asterisk here because historically, Putnam Valley does not go to the actual total allowable tax cap. We go a little bit under that. Okay, which means we're not asking the taxpayers for everything we're allowed to. And then I usually show you a percentage change in the tax levy. This tax cap will be due March 1st, so prior to that, you will know the information that comes out of this. So the job of the business official and the tax and our department is to make sure that we come up with a balanced budget. So we work on the expenses, which we're doing already, which include instructional programs. We look at the administration, we look at supervision, we look at transportation, the facilities, and I think capital improvements. We come up with a number. When I come up with that number, then I go back to this side and see, okay, what's my allowable tax levy? Then we look at state aid, which at this point, we're not really sure what's happening with the foundation aid. It's another to be determined figure. Then we have miscellaneous local revenues. For example, when you invest in the NI class in the last year, there was a substantial amount of interest income that was earned. Where our hands are tied, we can't do things like invest in the stock market. We have to follow the school laws. The other thing that would be in your local revenue is like when you charge the tuition to the Garrison students that come here, that would be our local revenue that we gain. Then we have some fund balance that we can use to help balance this budget. So sometimes we will use that because we need to balance the budget because we can't ask the taxpayer for any more than what we were told in this allowable tax levy. And then finally, we have reserves, which are meant to be used specifically for what they were put away for. And I like to pull those out and use them because I think that that helps the expenses that went up, and we need to make sure that the budget is balanced. We would need the revenues from some of those reserves. From year to year, it may change. So in the budget development, we have a lot of challenges that are pretty similar every year and pretty similar for most districts. First and foremost is the contractual salaries, which have an increase of anywhere from 2 to 6%. That's probably 75% of my budget, because aligned with that are all the benefits that come with it. Then we have to contend with the inflation, which at this moment is not too bad. Inflation is about 2.7, but in March it was 3.6. Tax cap is basically going to be around that 2%. And then we have the state aid foundation formula, which I said is going to be determined by what the governor decides. Then we have health insurance premium. The increase right now is closer to 3.9%. The pension rates we already have, the ERS is at 16.5%. It's up from 15.1 last year, and the TRS is 10.11%. Most of these do go up. I have only seen 1 year where the TRS rate actually came down. Then we have special education costs, which are unknown. It's the increase between the in and out of district tuition. Transportation costs is going up. We have a contract, but I think I spoke to Dave Spittle, it was something like 3.5%. Then the last piece is that the ARP federal stimulus funding has already ended, and where you were able to depend on that money as additional revenues to balance your budget, that no longer exists. What's the next steps? In the budget development, well, we have to have meetings, the cabinet will have meetings with the principals, we'll have to identify efficiencies to maximize savings, and I know in the business office, we have already started doing many things. This year, we are instituting educational data and timepiece. Those are software programs that will work efficiently, and we'll need less people to do the work that we're currently doing. We'll be able to buy supplies at much lower rates because we're part of a consortium that will go out to bid for that. Then we will finalize personnel staffing, and then we will finalize the allowable tax cap, and then we will resolve the state aid, which is to be determined, and we'll finalize the budget, which will be due by March 13th. Another thing that's happening is the budget development timeline. We have on these dates, these people, these departments will be coming to do presentations. So this is something that you might want to put on your calendar to tune into. Until the end, by May 20th, we'll have the vote. And we do this for the kids. Thank you. Any questions?
When will we know our incoming kindergarten class, the volume?
How many kids?
So the technical answer is September 25. I can tell you already, there's 50-something students that have already registered, which is better than last year. We typically push for a big registration drive and start our screenings in February. So we typically get a few more students that sign up in order to make it through the screening process in February. But the reality is that's constantly a moving number. When we get to March, February, March, we're going to have to make a determination based upon sort of historical trends, what our anticipated staffing is going to be, so we know how to budget accordingly for that. So we had a really small class this current year, smaller than usual class the year before. So we're hoping to reverse that trend to start getting larger classes back in. But I think February timeline we'll have a better idea where we stand. But I do know as of right now we have about 50-something students. It was 50, but I know there's been a couple more since then. So that's where we stand right now.
I'm going to put you on the spot on something. I don't expect you to know this number. If you do, I'll be impressed. From our enrollment beginning of September to now, how much have we increased? Any idea?
Yeah, I don't know that number off the top of my head. I know COVID reversed the trend, which was neutral, right? We would lose 30 kids, we would gain 30 kids. We would lose 60 kids, we would gain 60 kids. After COVID, I think the 18 months after COVID, we gained 165 students, more than we lost. So that was certain, but then those kids were spread out across 13 grade levels, not just all kindergarten students. It's my belief that since that time, we've continually gained students, not at that same rate, but we definitely gain more students than we lose. They're just, again, spread out across many grade levels. We do have that number. We track it on a spreadsheet. I just didn't look before I came. What is it? 97. See, Dan's got access to it. That's how many we gained, but you don't know how many we lost.
No, I don't know. That's how we gained. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's 97 minus however many lost, but it's this number of students who left the district is much smaller than that number.
Okay, thank you. And Garrison students, when will we know that number?
So it's not official. We have been notified for sure that there's 9 students that are committed. Maybe a 10th is coming on their way. So that would be 10 additional students on top of the 13 we had this year and the 3 I think we were up to the year before. I know we gained some students after their freshman year. So that continues to far exceed our expectations. I know the first year we were hoping for just one brave soul, give us a shot. And we got 2, and then we got a third one. And then the next year we got 13 of 18 kids. And we were like, holy smokes. We were ready for this. But I would take all of them. I would love the opportunity to. And I have to say, the feedback we get from them, we had the opportunity to go present at their board meeting. Obviously, they come here, they visit our schools. The feedback we get from both the Garrison students and the Garrison parents is they love the feel and the culture of our building. They love that our students are taking them on tours when they come for the parent evening. They love being able to partner up with our students and to get tours of their buildings. And those who are interested, I think we had 15 students who spent the entire day here in Putnam Valley shadowing a student. So that's a tremendous percentage of their students that are at least interested. So we hope that trend will continue. Transportation remains an issue for them. It's a long day. The way the transportation works for them is they essentially do high school runs like we would and bring every kid back to Garrison. And then all of those students split up into 3 buses for a second bus run every morning. So they pick up all of their kids, they bring them back to the building, and then they get on either a Haldane, a Putnam Valley, or an O'Neill bus for the next step of it. Now we have students that are in sports, and now they have late buses. So distance is an issue. I'm actually really curious to see what happens when that large group of 13 start becoming seniors and driving, and are they taking the juniors with them? And I feel like that would alleviate a lot of the transportation concerns that they have. But we're going strong.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, one more question. Grace, you mentioned the district operations efficiencies. Will that information be included in one of these budget discussions?
Probably not. That's already in place right now, and we're pulling it up, but I can answer any questions you have. One of the vendors that I brought in is educational data, which a lot of districts have that, and it's a bunch of school districts that they represent and go out to bid for everything. So we're already buying those supplies, but now we're going to get a much lower rate. And also the way that we buy it will be done very efficiently, because once we have purchased everything the first year, the records will be there, and it'll be online, a website. The teachers won't have to put all their orders in before they rush out for the summer holidays. What happens is that once the budget is passed, we would open that up. It's a separate website, and it's web-based, so they don't even have to be here. Then they start ordering what they want, and they will have a limit that was placed on that by their principal, and then it will go directly to the principal to approve, and then it'll come into the business office. And then when it's all approved, this bulk order happens in the summer. All the POs are created by the company, so none of the work is happening on our end any longer. Whereas we used to have to show that we would get 3 quotes, find the lowest price. This is the lowest price, so we won't have to have the main office secretaries do any of that work. And then every year, at the end of the year, they will prove to you that you saved money. And I brought this in many districts, and I'm really thrilled that this is something that's going to happen this year. So this is already happening as an efficiency model for us. The other thing that I have been bringing in, and we're almost there, is the timepiece, which is a mechanism to pay people overtime, whereas you currently pay them by having timesheets signed physically by everyone, and at the end of the day, the superintendent signs them all, and it's a pile like this. That's being taken away and is done electronically now. It also will speed up the process that the payroll person will be able to pay people on time. Right now, it's a mad dash to get all those papers in, figure it out, put it into the system. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes after somebody hands the paper in. It's all done in the business office and the administrators who have to sign this. And sometimes when they don't get to it, it holds her up, and she can't pay the payroll, and that includes people who don't even get overtime. So that's been a stress on her. She's planning to retire in 2 years, and I need to make that job very streamlined so that whoever replaces it, I mean, we have to use technology. We're already in 2025. So those are 2 things. And I'm trying to slow down what else we do, because it's a big change for a little district when you've had the opportunity to do things in a different way for so long. But honestly, in other districts that have much more students and teachers and personnel, it can't be done this way, and it isn't. So that's why they created this thing that's timepiece, and we're already on board. We started this process back in July already, and we're almost ready to roll it out.
Right out of the gate. Thank you. And first time I jumped in front of Sam, so go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Real quickly, I was a little alarmed to see the one post of salaries 2 to 6%. I have to tell you, 6% is not tenable in this economy within our community. Where did that come from?
So the contractual, it includes step. So the contractual increases. So as you know, like teachers go up 1% over the year and they go up a step. So their salary increases when you consider
So this incorporates the step
percentage
with that.
and the step.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Right. So the contract to contract or year to year increase is more like 2%, but there's also a step that has to be figured in. So from a budgetary standpoint, we have to budget a 6% increase.
It wasn't clear the way it was put,
Right.
because it
was my
seemed to
fault.
me
I
that
made-
somebody's
I made her
base,
change it. She had 2%, so.
yeah, that somebody's base was 6%, and I'm saying,
No.
who do we pay at 6% a year?
Based upon last year, we also gave the full percentage, which was percentage and step. I didn't want it to go the other way and say, we said everyone's only getting a 2% raise.
No, and I understand
And then if
that.
you do the math, you see that people are getting much larger
You
raises.
may, for transparency purposes, you may want to state base salary around 2%,
Salary
and then
step. We can have
step,
that.
so
you.
people understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen.
Thank
Other
you.
questions?
Thank you, Dr. Chen.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for bringing some
just fresh perspective to the business office about ways in which that they can be more efficient and work smarter, not harder. I think that's just great, the creativity that's gone into it. Yes, we are in the century we're in, and sometimes we just do things the same old way because that's the way they've been done, and we're comfortable with that, and change can be good. So thank you so much. That's
Yes.
great.
I've received very positive feedback about what I rolled out so far.
Keep going. Good job. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just lining up for the next one.